thing that you do?
Syllabus.
Okay, you take a syllabus, okay, you make a plan, you will do this and this, okay. When you eventually sit down and decide as to study, where do you go? To the room. Where do you find resources from?
Library.
In case the library is closed, then
Online.
Online, what all do you look for? Okay, PDFs.
Journals.
Journals, okay. Some images for things like formative, summative assessment. Differences like that in images, just go to the image. The difference is very clearly mentioned. You also look for things like flowcharts, mind maps, concept maps. You also look for e-books. If you have to read about some author or somebody's philosophical standpoint, you also look for e-books. An entire PDF and select whatever you want to read and read. Now, all these resources, are they similar to one another?
No.
Or I'll rephrase it. If I force you to find something common in all that you mentioned right now, what would that be?
Online.
They're all online. Can I also, there's one word that is commonly used to refer to all these digitally available learning materials.
Electronic.
E-learning is the process. Materials.
E-resources.
Or e-content. So that is the topic we'll be studying today. We'll study about the making. How do you develop and how to use a e-content. So we'll go by general and I'll also give you specific examples for social science. So now the word itself is self-explanatory. It is content. Content means materials. E, electronically available content. Electronically available materials. So e-content is all those learning materials that are available digitally, which are to serve the purpose of fulfilling some learning outcome. See, when you wanted to look for e-content, your goal was to fulfill your syllabus, to complete your syllabus. That was your learning objective. To learn whatever is mentioned as concepts in your syllabus. Each course, each syllabus, each concept, or each program has its own learning objective. So whatever you use to fulfill that learning objective is a e-content. Now you already mentioned some types of e-content. Now can we try listing out all possible e-content? I'm not going to say all possible. A good number of e-content types we can try to put forth here. Now I want you to help me list out. You can tell me one by one, whatever you can recollect. You can start. PDFs, okay.
Journals.
E-books,
Journals.
yes. We'll put them as e-journals because journals are also available in hard copies also, offline. And do you not use images?
Yes.
Yes, visuals. You also use graphics, small animation clips. Also you use, we'll put them as visuals together. And what else? Do you not listen to sometimes like some videos? Sometimes you don't find material or don't have enough time to go through the material. What do we do? YouTube video. Yes?
Podcast.
Yes. Podcast. Slides. Yes. I'll put it as PowerPoint. Okay? What else? Can you also use things like AR and VR, virtual reality, AR,
Yes.
augmented reality, VR? You can use that also. Anything else you can recollect? We've forgotten e-books also you can add there.
E-books already wrong.
Then I've written, okay. Anything else? Animations? Possible? Can we also,
E-games.
games, yes. These days, a major proportion of integrating ICT also involves gamification, making things fun, making learning very fun using games to fulfill learning objectives. Yes. Can we, something very similar to games, where there's one more thing. Something that involves a real life replication in a room. Simulations. Yes. These days a lot of driving schools also do this. To give an example, instead of taking a car on the road, go for a simulation, then go to that. You can also use a lot of simulations for things like earthquake. To teach children how would it feel like when you are in an earthquake, something of simulation. In in areas where earthquakes are most unlikely to occur, if you want them to feel that, you can also use simulations. So all these are some of the forms of e-content. Now if I were to tell you, now you have all been using e-content. Almost I am sure you have all used at least all of them. Now if I were to tell you are now teachers, you have to make e-content. What would you do? Would you do something before you decide to make an e-content? What all would you need to do to develop an e-content? That is what we will study next. Now you tell me, would there be something you would do, if okay, say for example I have to make an e-content on, what topic do you want to take? Something from social science, some M.ed book, tell me. Not gone through yet. Okay, let's take class 7. Or let's take class 8 first chapter resources. I have given you the task. You have to make e-content for this chapter for class 8 students. Okay, you have read the chapter, let's assume. Now will you suddenly go and make the e-content? Will you do something before it?
Preparation.
You have to do something. It's not as easy. You can't just jump right in and say, oh, I have read the content, I'll make the e-content now. Is it that simple?
No.
It involves a lot of steps. You need to do a lot of preparation. Even actually before preparing the e-content, you need a lot of preparation. So, development of an e-content involves a lot of processes, a lot of steps. And how this e-content is developed or the process that one follows can differ. We call these instructional designs. The different steps or ways an e-content can be made, the different things or different ways to do it is called instructional designs. And these designs, there are several of them. There is something called the B.ed model, the ARCS model, the systems approach model, Dick and Carey model. There are so many models. But one model that is very, very useful, very easy and widely used is the B.ed model, which we will study today. This is a model used to develop a e-content. Now this ed is an acronym, it's not a word in itself. The first A refers to analysis. The second one refers to design. Next, the second D refers to development. I refers to implementation. And the last E refers to evaluation. So these are all the steps that you have to follow to make an e-content through the ed model. But what you should remember is, whatever model you use, whether it's ed, ARCS, Assure, most of them will have these steps. This is the simplest model. Other models, some models have 9, some models have 10 steps. But all of these will have all these things. You will have some analysis, some pre-planning, some design. You will have to pre-plan exactly what you want to do. You will have to actually develop it. You will have to implement it and then evaluate your e-content. So this is the very basic. You will have this 5 steps in all models. So that is why we are going to study the most basic and the most simplest of these models. So now let's go to each of these steps to understand what it is and what you have to do. So when I say analysis, I have given you the context now. You have to prepare an e-content for class 8 resources chapter. What all analysis will you have to do before actually making the e-content? Can you think about it? of the content. Yes, you have to read the content, see what is there in that entire chapter. What do you have to make the content? What is the nature of the content? You have to do all this analysis. Then to whom are you giving this content? Learners, some learner. So now should you not analyze the learner while preparing your e-content? Say who is the learner, what is their age group, what is their previous knowledge, in what mode will they be able to learn better, because you have listed so many forms of e-content. It may not, each of them cannot be suitable for the content and the learner. It's for you to decide what forum you want to use, or if you want to integrate 2 or 3 things, you can do that also. So you have to also analyze the learner. Now you missed one thing that you have to do before this and this also. Should you not see if there is a need for you to develop e-content also? Do I really need e-content? Will this be useful? Will this add value to the lesson? You also have to think of this even before going to the content and the learner. You have to first assess the need. What is the need? Why is this need felt? What do I have to do to fulfill this need that I am feeling to create a e-content? So these are all the analysis that you have to do. You can do more if you wish to. This you have to do. At least these analysis you have to do before jumping into creating your e-content. Now let's go to the second phase. This is the design. Now I have decided there is a need because students are getting very confused with the topic of resources. My learners are class A. They know what is the ecosystem. They know what definition of resources. They know. This is my learner analysis. I also felt that they will be able to know best with pictures and a mind map. Now I have made analysis of all three things. Now what next will I do if I want to plan the e-content? See now, have I planned anything in this phase as to what I will do, how I will do? Have I done that? I have only decided what I should do and why am I doing it. Now, is that sufficient to actually jump into creating the e-content? I have to think what I should do, how I should put it, how I have to organize, what is the structure that I want to use, which forum do I want to use. I have to make a lot of decisions. All that decisions will lie in the design phase. So you are basically taking a lot of decisions to design the e-content. So now what all decisions will you have to take? The first is learning outcomes. The first thing in design is to decide what is your learning outcome. What will your students be able to do after they have learned through your e-content? That is the first thing. Next, you also have to decide about what is the content structure. How will you structure your content in the e-content? It can be based on however, if you are doing it on an NCERT book, it's very simple actually. Textbook already gives a natural flow, you can just follow that. But if you are doing it on a topic, say for example, I decided e-content. Now I had to decide what I should tell you first. What is the structure in which I am going to present the content? So that is the next thing that you will have to decide. Next, of course, after I have decided what to tell you, I also have to decide how to tell you. Yes, so that is why I also need to decide about learning strategies. Now, along with learning, what is the obvious next step to do in the learning process? Evaluation. Learning and evaluation are like two sides of the same coin. So if you have decided a learning strategy, you also need an evaluation strategy. Yes? And after that, okay, you have decided this is the content I want to use. I am using this strategy. I am going to use this evaluation strategy. Do you also have to decide how you are going to present this content? Will it be a photo? Will it be a video? Will it be a simulation? What form of the content? That also you have to decide here based on how you want to present your content. Because unless you know what is the content and how you want to present it, you will not be able to arrive at a decision of what form of e-content you want to use. So your mode or your medium you have to decide. wide-ranging simulation. Do you have the technical knowledge, the technical resources to make it? I can say, okay, for the lesson of volcano or an earthquake, I would love my students to have a simulation. Is that really possible as a class 7, class 8 teacher for me to create the simulation? Unlikely. Unless I have very technical knowledge, I have all the resources at my disposal, I will not be able to do it. So you also have to design or decide about the technical aspects of your e-content. Now this is all about the decisions you have to take in the design. Now when you have decided why you want to do it, decided how you want to do it, what is the next step? To actually do it. That is the development phase, where you develop your e-content. Now this is also the production phase of your e-content, where you actually produce your content. Now here when you produce, you can produce multiple things. Say for example, I want to have a self-learning material for this chapter. I can involve photos also, I can add a link to a video also, I can give them a PDF also. In next time reading, I can add a ebook also. So I have to prepare all of these and integrate them. So preparing and integrating both will happen in the development phase. Now after I've developed this, I also have to preview. Just see if this is the structure alright. Do I have to modify something? Because just because I've prepared it doesn't mean it doesn't need small modifications. Maybe the order maybe it should be changed to create a better outcome. So all these previewing you have to do after you have developed your e-content. Now when you have developed, what was your purpose of making it? To use it. So the obvious next step is to implement, to put it to use. So now here, there are 3 things you have to do. First is to do testing. You heard of the term pilot testing, where you test it on a small scale to see if this will work. That is what you should try here also ideally. You can, for example, if you want to give it to all class 8 sections, your e-content on resources, give it to your class of 40 students. See how it will work out. You think students find a little confusion in this particular topic, this particular item, modify it. Then circulate it to the entire school. So all this testing or pilot testing that we call can be done in this phase. Now also another important thing when you are implementing it and publishing it is to check if your e-content follows or is compliant of all these standards and rules. See, in your e-content, I may have taken a photograph from Google. You have to check if that photograph has a copyright. Or was it a free? Or was it without a copyright? Was it free for you to use? Or if you have used some quote from somewhere, you have to say I have taken it from this place. You can't steal the idea off of somewhere and say this is mine. So this will lead to a lot of legal complications also. So you have to check if your e-content is in compliance with all standards and rules before putting it to use. Then the last phase is the evaluation. So how can you evaluate? For example, I have given this class now. Now I will tell you what will I do if I want to know how my class was. What will I do? What is the easiest thing for me to do if I want to see? Ask for feedback. So what you can do to evaluate your own e-content? Ask for feedback. Whoever is the user of your e-content, ask them for feedback. Ask them how did you feel? Where did you feel difficulty? Or if you were to given a choice to make some improvement, what would you do? So you should have a feedback mechanism for your e-content. Now when you have received feedback, what should you do? Improve upon it. That is the last step. You have to improve wherever you feel there is a problem or wherever there is a requirement for modification. So now this is the model for development of an e-content. First is the analysis, next is the design, next is the development, next is the implementation and evaluation. Now I have a question. I have made the e-content. E-content is, or I have made the e-content for the purpose of using it in the classroom. Where and how can I use it in the classroom? You have already studied pedagogy, you are about to go to your internship also soon. So you already have an idea of what is teaching learning material, where it can be used, how it can be used. I'll give you 2 minutes. where and how can you use a e-content in your classroom? Which phase can you use? Can you use it only in a certain phase? Can you use it in all phases of your teaching? Can you use it for teaching? Can you use it for evaluation? How can you use it? You can think it.
Mostly for explore and extend and
We can actually evaluate and this introduction to show
in native
You want some more time to think, or can I start asking you for answers?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I ask? Now tell me, if you were given the choice, how would you use your e-content in the classroom?
At any given stage, we can actually use the e-content. Like if we can use a video or an image for introduction phase, we can use PPT or any other activity for explore and extend phase, and we can even do a e-quiz for evaluation phase. So I think any phase according to our capability, we can use an e-content.
Yes, e-content can be used in all phases of your learning. It can be used for pre-learning also. You can give them a comic strip or an image and say, observe this, and then we'll continue the discussion in the next class. It can be a preliminary for students to just look at. For example, in class 9 there is a history lesson on Nazism and the rise of Hitler. The chapter begins with a story. You can give that story as an image, you can add images. Of course, you will find more of the story on the net. You can create a PDF of the story and a few images of, say, Hitler and the person and the boy who is described in the story, circulate to your students before the class only. That can be a usage of your pre-lesson. They'll read the story and be very excited for your class when you actually start the chapter. And I'm sure you all know how to use an e-content during the class. You have been taught how to use materials, where to use them, do's and don'ts, all that you already know. So very well, e-content also can be an effective teaching learning material you can use during the classroom. And of course, as one of your friends said, you can use e-quizzes, you can use incomplete concept maps. Fill some of them, leave some of them empty. That's one of the best ways to understand if your student has understood the concept or not. If they can correctly fill in the hierarchies of a concept map. So also e-content can be used in all phases. Now, if you are given the choice to choose an e-content, I say there is an e-content readily available. You need not have to prepare for each and everything. There is hundreds and thousands of them available on the internet. And when you have to choose them, what will you see when you decide I have to use this particular material? You think and tell me. You are now to be teachers. I am sure you have searched when you are preparing for your macro teaching. Also, you have searched what TLM can I use for this chapter, this lesson. Now, what criteria did you use to decide, oh, this is apt for my lesson? In that way, what criteria would you use to select for the utilization of your e-content? How would you decide?
Relevance. Relevance to the content.
Relevance. Very good. If that is, see, there are so many e-content that are of different levels, different specifications, specializations, have expectations for different previous knowledge. So your e-content should be relevant for your classroom context. So you have to choose an e-content that is suitable for your classroom. What else?
Level of language. Level of language.
Yes. You can say the language used. If it's too difficult or in an accent that is very difficult for a class 8 student to understand, it would be better to not use it. Rather than create more confusion in their minds, better not use it. What you can do in that way, if that is a video, that's extremely good. Use that, you can do a voiceover with your own voice, add it to that video, show it to your students. You can do modifications. So language, yes. Can you also say if it is free?
Yes.
Would you really be willing to pay for each e-content that you would want to use from the internet?
Affordability.
No, affordable, cost effective. And for example, see, cost effective also could be if, for example, if an e-content is extremely good and requires a one-time payment of some moderate amount, and you are a full-time teacher, you can use it in many classes. In that case also, if your school can provide, then you can do that for a one-time payment. Or if you have to renew it every year to keep on using it, would you do it?
No.
No. You have to see that also. Next, can you also see access? Where all you can find? How easy is it to find? On what format is the e-content based? If it is in some format that is so difficult to open, or it will open in only one form of OS, one form of systems, would you like to use that? No. Available. Ease of use. So we put access and ease of use also. This also you have to see. Now you also have to see if it is suitable for your learning strategy of your chapter or your content. See, some things are good with lecture, some things are good with activity. If you feel that content is good with activity, don't select any content that students have to just sit and watch. So based on your learning strategy and pedagogy, choose one that is suitable for you. Now you all forgot one thing. This was all about how you are going to use. Now can you tell me something about the quality of e-content? Will you take some e-content that is very average or extremely good? Extremely good. You want the best use of that. So you also want quality. You want good content. Do you want students to have good understanding or bad understanding? You want them to have good understanding. So your concept should also be clear in the e-content that you want to use. And also you have to check for errors. It could be factual errors, conceptual errors, language usage errors. All those errors also you have to see before you decide to use a particular e-content. And one more last thing that you have to always keep in mind is if it has copyrights. You all have done your ICT papers? Yes. You know the 6 Creative Commons licenses?
Patent.
CC by SA, CC by NC, CC by NCND, CC by SA, only CC by. Okay. So there are 2 types of e-content. I will put it here because I am only talking about e-content. It can either be free or it can be copyright. Okay, I do this. So free means you are free to download it, use it, modify it and redistribute it also. So all these rights you will have in a free software or a free content or any free intellectual property basically. But if it has a copyright, you are allowed to do only what the owner has allowed you to do. Okay? If I say you are only allowed to share it the way I have made it, you cannot make modifications. If I say you cannot make derivatives, like you cannot use a portion of my writing or my work, then you cannot use it. You cannot make derivatives of my work. You cannot, okay, and also say that if I have made it in a PDF form, I can say it has to be shared in a PDF only further. So these are all different licenses. There are 6 Creative Commons licenses. Just go to Google, you will get this image only, where there is all the table check boxes. It's very easy to understand what these licenses are. So it's very important for you to understand about these licenses and what license your e-content has. If not, you will face a lot of legal issues with respect to malpractice with copyright. So be very aware when you are using it, and that is why your ICT teachers must have already told you when you want to use any image in your classroom, only use Creative Commons license images. There's a Creative Commons search also. Just go and type CC search, and that you go and search images, then you will get images without copyright. So be very careful of what is the nature of license in your e-content. So all these, this is still limited. You can go on adding as many number and we can continue our discussion, but we'll just stick to these basic things that you have to take care when you decide to use some e-content that is already available. So today we have discussed development. Rather, we started with what is e-content, some learning material available digitally. and then we went on to see what are the different forms of e-content. Then we studied about how to develop an e-content through the ED model, which is the most basic and most widely spread or widely used model. Then we saw, what did we see next before this? In use only. After that we discuss something else. After the model, why? You
Utilization.
also discuss where it can be used, in which phase of your lesson, and how it can be used in your lessons. We discussed that, and lastly we have discussed about what are the factors you should keep into consideration when you are using any content. So with this we complete your topic of development and utilization of e-resources.